Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today we are talking about how to give back at your wedding, and I have Clay Dunn as our guest, and he is the CEO of Vow for Girls. And Clay joined Vow as the organization's CEO in 2019. Under his leadership, Vow has significantly expanded its team, community of supporters, and funding partners, and has set a bold strategic plan in the next phase of the organization's growth. Prior to Vow, Clay spent nearly a decade at the No Kid Hungry campaign to end child hunger in America, where he was part of the founding team. During that time, revenues grew to more than $80 million annually. That's awesome. Before moving into purpose driven work, Clay was a marketing and entertainment executive, most recently at National Geographic Channels. A native of Kentucky, Clay lives in Brooklyn with his husband and spends his free time exploring all that New York City has to offer. Despite his inability to draw, Clay dreamed of being an artist when he was a child. Welcome, Clay.
Thank you, Alyssa. So nice to be with you.
Yeah, I love that little fact at the end about being an artist as a child, even though you feel like you can't draw. That's so fun. So, you are the CEO of Vow for Girls. Tell us more about Vow for Girls and the organization.
Yeah, Vow for Girls is a US based nonprofit with a global mission. We champion girls around the world without the rights and the resources and the choices to decide their own futures. Unfortunately, we live in a world that does not value girls' lives and girls' choices. And we'll talk about this more, but way too many girls every year are denied some really fundamental choices about their lives related to do they get to stay in school, whether or not they get to choose a marriage for themselves or someone else makes that decision, and so many things that go beyond that. So our work is about building a community of support for girls whose choices and futures are at risk.
Wow, yeah. And to even think that that is a thing that happens in other countries, like child marriage, it's just such a shocking thing that is still happening in our world today. And for you guys as an organization to come alongside and try to combat this problem that is happening in our world is just so amazing. And so I can't thank you guys enough for the work that you're doing. So, what are some of the stats that are involving child marriage?
Yeah, so like the core issue that we're addressing is the one that you raise here of child marriage, and I may blow your mind a little bit here, but it's not just an issue that happens in other countries. It happens here in the U.S. as well, where it's
Wow.
legal in
Yeah.
more than 40 states to
What?
marry
No.
someone who's underage. It varies state to state. And of course, it's happening here at a much different rate than what we see in Latin America, sub-Saharan Africa, across Asia, but still happens here close to home. Like this issue of girls not being able to make their own decision and someone else thinking that they can make a decision as fundamental for a girl as who she'll marry and spend the rest of their life with is one that is impacting women and girls literally all over the globe. I mean, this year alone, 12 million girls. That's one girl every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds that you and I are sitting here talking, a girl is entered into a union, largely one that she is not choosing. And, it's happening not just for one reason. It happens across continents and cultures and religions. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but it's the reality of the world that we live in. It's happening because girls' lives aren't valued as much as boys' lives. Like,
Mhm.
there are a lot of other drivers that come to it, but at the base, it's about this like massive gender inequality that we experience in this world and that women and girls face.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I know you kind of touched on this, but you said child marriage is really just one thing that Vow for Girls helps with. What are some of the other areas that Vow for Girls is helping girls around the world with?
Yeah, so there's this issue that we talk about with child marriage, right? The 12
Mhm.
million girls a year, and that 12 million girls is what we're looking to address, right? Like we're looking
Mhm.
to ensure that each one of those girls gets to make their own choice, right? About this like really fundamental thing. But
Mhm.
it isn't just about that, right? Like it's about like a girl's education because like
Mhm.
the longer that a girl is able to stay in school, like the less likely she is to become a child bride. Like we
Yeah.
know that often the day that a girl is told that she's going to be married is the day that she's pulled out of school, right? So it's
Wow,
about
yeah.
their education. So many of the programs that we support are about helping girls stay in school, right? Supporting their sort of costs, maybe like around that, paying for school fees, paying for transportation to get to the secondary school in the next village, like whatever it takes. A lot of the programs that we support are also about just girls' leadership and giving them space to gather and to learn and to support one another. So, a really successful tactic that we see employed by the local organizations that we support around the globe is these like leadership clubs for girls where they can come together. They learn about some really practical things, right? They learn about finances. They learn some skills that could be used to make money, like sewing skills, making soaps, making dolls, like all sorts of things. But while they're doing that, they also learn about the concept of rights and that they, as an individual, have rights. That they know what to do when confronted with the issue of child marriage, and what to do if they feel like that their future or the future of their friends is at risk. So that's one
Mhm.
of the things that we're doing. A third that is really common across the countries where we're supporting work is making sure that girls have like really basic health information, that they know how pregnancy happens, how pregnancy is prevented, right? Like, which is, I don't know about your where you grew up and what kind of education you were given. It's something that I know me growing up in like Western Kentucky, like we were giving the lightest of information about all of that, right? Like
Mhm.
and just making sure that girls like have this basic knowledge and can navigate those situations. And it goes on from there.
Mhm.
We do more like economic empowerment programs, programs that are teaching girls skills. There's this really fun program that's like teaching girls carpentry and construction skills,
That's
which is like
awesome,
really
I love
unusual, but I love it
that.
because it like bucks the gender norm and uh,
Yeah.
shows girls that they can be what they want to be and they can make their
Yeah.
lives what they want them to be.
That is really cool. I love just the focus on education and also like entrepreneurship too. Just like having more girl entrepreneurs throughout the world, I think is really awesome. And for your organization to like be helping with that, like whether it's the carpentry or whether it's making soaps or like learning a really great skill where they can go off on their own to build a business and build a life for their own. And once again, I do think that that does kind of combat that the overarching theme of child marriage is, giving them goals and other things in their lives that they're able to envision for themselves and attach themselves to rather than just going along with what somebody else tells them to do or what the status quo is in their culture to
Totally.
get married and end up in a lot of times pretty terrible situations. And so I think that's awesome, especially with the education of just like how things work, adult decisions, and things like that. A lot of times in cultures that isn't really communicated. And so I think focusing on that of how things happen, the progression, how babies happen, that sort of thing. I think it's just so important and a really great thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, two really quick things on that. Like,
Yeah.
I vividly remember a conversation last year. I went to Dominican Republic, and it's one of the countries where we have like a large like cohort of local organizations that we're supporting. These are like local organizations, largely women led, and they're bringing their own solutions to this problem forward. So we're funding the solutions that they're recommending. I remember really vividly one of the women whose work we're funding there saying to me, like, like the girls who enter this program, they don't know that they can dream. Like they don't know that there's the possibility of a future beyond what they can see. And so much of this is about opening their eyes to the possibility that you can be more and do more and be other places other than what's immediately in front of you. And that is a real possibility for you in your life. So like
Mhm.
I think about that a lot. And the other thing I think about a lot is like it's easy for you or I to think about this notion of, rights and the law and like know that that's something that's available to us. I was in this at this program in Nepal a little more than a year ago, and we were asking the girls, like, tell us about what you know about child marriage, what you see, what you hear about it. This girl, like, very matter of factly said, I'm 15 years old. I've been in this program for 2 years. Last year, my parents came to me and they said, it's time for you to get married. And she said, because of this program, I knew that I have rights and that it's a violation of the law. And I said to them, it's against the law and I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
Like, just hearing, and she was like, before I was in this program, I had no concept of that. And just hearing these like stark terms, like, oh, I learned that I have rights. And then I saw that they're going to be violated. And I said, like, no. And like, that's the thing that really gives me a lot of hope in this work, is because across the globe, like in the things that we're supporting, that we consistently hear from these women leading these programs that when their futures are at risk, that girls are saying no in ways that they never have before and standing up for themselves and for one another. And I think that's something really to celebrate and just gives me a lot of hope for the future.
That is incredible. And that is just showing you the fruit of what you guys are doing in this organization as far as which programs you're giving money to and the donations you're getting. You can see physical evidence of just the fruit of that. And I think that's really awesome. Can you tell us more? So, you guys have a Girls First Fund too. Is that correct? So, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, my expertise is about like raising money and building partnerships, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's what
for
I spend all
sure.
day doing, like working with all kinds of different people. I have a sister organization. Val has a sister organization called the Girls First Fund, where their specialty is finding amazing local organizations, funding them, and then tracking those dollars and the impact of them, making sure the money is well spent, helping those organizations learn from one another. So we're two organizations that work really seamlessly together, me raising money and them distributing it and putting it to good use. And then together we do a lot of storytelling about the work, demonstrating the impact, advocacy, and those things. So it's a little bit of a different setup because I think most people are accustomed to one organization that does all the things. But we're brand new organization. Like on my first day, I was the first full-time employee of this organization. So
Wow,
it
no
has been a
way.
real journey in
2019,
terms of
yeah.
just like building an organization, building the partnerships, and it's served us well in this mode, like working as sister organizations, because we each have our own expertise, and we find a lot of efficiency from like really leaning into those expertise and then coming together at the critical junctures.
Yeah, that's what I absolutely love about the nonprofit world. It's not like give money to only my organization or, why are you giving money to this organization? It's like everyone can work together for the good of the whole world, really. And it's like sharing in each other's expertise and partnering with different organizations to do this work. And so I think that's so cool that you guys are partnering with the Girls First Fund and some of these other organizations that are doing such great things for girls. So you're on a wedding podcast. How does this all relate to weddings? So
Yeah, I'm sure
let's,
some people who are listening to
I
this are like,
know, right?
what are we talking about? Who is this
Yes.
person? Like, so I am on a wedding podcast because we
Yeah.
have this big idea.
Yeah.
And that big idea is that that new money to support the futures of girls around the world can be mobilized alongside moments of celebration. So
Hmm.
in the case of the conversation at hand, like weddings that you and I go to, where couples are much more likely than generations before them to make giving back part of their special occasion, and where people are looking to add even more meaning and more personalization to their events. And so
Mm.
our idea is that by working with couples themselves who are planning celebrations, and then brands who are, aligned with celebrations, and then event professionals themselves who make the celebrations happen, that we can build this groundswell of support for girls around the world and raise money that can be invested in these local programs. That's like the big idea behind our organization and the one that I've been building and pursuing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And like, we were on a call a couple months ago, and I was telling you how my husband and I actually did give back to an organization at our wedding in lieu of the wedding favors for our guests. And so that's something that's important to us is giving back as a family. And so we just wanted to kind of showcase that part of us at our wedding. I think that is a really great way too, just for people to give back for Vow for Girls. And I think the whole child marriage thing and kind of going into your marriage too, there is such a relation there to bring awareness when you're already at a wedding, and then you can kind of educate some of your guests about more of just the terrible things that are happening in our world revolving around weddings and marriage, and giving back through that in your wedding. That is a very positive thing. And so I think that's really cool. Have you seen like some couples do some kind of cool things as far as like giving back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this notion that you just spoke to of, you know, I'm having this moment where I'm celebrating this really big choice that I'm making, right? Like
Mhm.
I have the privilege of making this choice, and like I'm making a commitment to someone, and a lot of people are responding positively to like supporting the choices of others, right? Like alongside this, and like especially supporting the girls whose choices are at risk in that way, and just like seeing a lot of parallels between the experience they're going through and what we want to support girls to do and be around the world. I'm really blown away by the interesting ways that couples that we work with have incorporated Vow for Girls. There are a couple of like models that I would point to. One is actually the example that you spoke to of, a couple who maybe they're looking to solve some problem around their wedding, or they're looking for a different kind of solution. So maybe they don't want to do favors, so they make a
Mhm.
donation in lieu of favors, and then have a small like sign or acknowledgement at the event that, like, in lieu of favors, a donation has been made in your honor. Other couples who are making gifts in honor of the wedding party, in honor of mothers, like whoever the important people are in their life. So that's one model. Um, as the second, and the sort of, I'd say the most common, is a couple who, they may have their gift lists that they want, their registry, and that's all good. And then some couples that we work with, they don't want gifts. Maybe it's a second marriage, maybe they're just getting married later in life. They don't need a toaster, like all those things. And
Right.
so they say, like, in addition to our gift list, or instead of, we encourage you to make a donation here. The latest couple who did that, their names are Allison and Colton. They just got married in Colorado. Allison learned about us through one of our bridal designer partners. But they did that very thing, like put a link on their wedding website, asked their guests to support. And they raised more than 2,600 US dollars in
Oh
like
my
just a few weeks,
gosh.
which is incredibly,
That's
their
amazing.
guests were incredibly generous in supporting
Yeah.
the cause. And guess what? That money goes really far in these communities where we're investing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the average across all these communities is just for like around 180 US dollars. You can pay
Wow.
a girl's entire school expenses for an entire year. Like everything's around
No
there. So
way.
anyway,
That's
so
incredible.
people like asking for donations. And then the third way that I would point to is we've had some brides who they had their registry, they're getting the gifts that they want, but maybe a family member, maybe a mother-in-law, maybe a mother is requesting that they have another bridal shower. They don't want another set of gifts that they haven't registered for, and so they're saying,
Yeah.
like, can we turn this into a fundraiser instead? So we'll still get together, we'll still have the fellowship and the time together, but we'll ask the guests to donate. And so that's been a successful model as well. It's just really fun to see how people make it their own.
Mhm. I love that idea. I hadn't even thought about that because, yeah, a lot of times couples do have like multiple wedding showers, and yeah, to like do gifts at one and then a give back or donation at the other one, I think is a really great idea. I love all those ideas. So
I mean, I didn't
if
even think
you,
of that
yeah,
when someone else thought of it. And I was like, I love that.
right?
We're going to suggest this to other
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, if anyone listening to this, if you want to give back for your shower or wedding or anything, definitely utilize these ideas that Clay is giving you right now. So, why is Vow for Girls the perfect organization for this?
I think for me, it just comes down to basic choices, right? Like,
Mhm.
in celebration of this really big decision and choice that you're making in your life, like supporting the choices of girls so that
Mhm.
they can make their own decisions about their futures. They can decide to stay in school. And the other reason that I would say is, this is maybe more of a like selling point. but like we've designed this really carefully, and so that anytime a couple or their guests like make a donation, we've made it possible that 100% of everything that they give goes directly to those local projects supporting girls. And that's because I cultivate other donors who are paying for like my time and our organizational costs and like my Zoom account and like all those things, right?
That's really
And
cool.
those are
Yeah.
people who believe in our model and really want to see us be successful in and mobilizing new funding to support girls alongside weddings. And so that's a promise that we make to people who partner with us, that because of those other donors' generosity, 100% of your generosity can go right to the cause. And then the third thing that I would say is I would sort of say that we're the perfect partner because of the fact that this is a really big issue, but it is also getting not the attention that it needs, right? It doesn't have the funding
Totally.
that it needs. It's one of the reasons that VOW was created. It doesn't have the size of community it needs to address the issue. Like traditional philanthropy is only going to do so much on this issue. And it's a place where you're really needed and where your dollars are going to go really far.
Mhm.
And so that's why we're excited to partner with like anyone who wants to make us part of their celebration and in any creative way that they want to, because this isn't about like one person doing a lot to solve the problem. Like we get to solutions here when a lot of people do a little.
Mhm.
And that will add up and we'll have this like big global impact together.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. All those reasons are such great reasons to give back. I know you guys also have a shop on your website. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we've been really lucky to partner with different brands who create products and experiences that can support girls, and we're all the time. By the way, if anyone is listening, works with a brand or
Yeah.
with a brand that would be a good partner for Val, we would love to talk with you. Like a great example of this year of a really incredible promotion that we have with a brand aligned with our shop is that the bridal designer Justin Alexander created an accessories line that sold in more than 2,000 boutiques around the world. And like every time one of the accessories is sold, $10 comes to the cause.
That's
Uh,
amazing. That's
it's amazing.
huge.
Allison and Colton, that's how Allison found out about Val for Girls, because
So
one of the
cool.
sales associates in one of the boutiques like told her about the promotion and about the accessories. She was like, I love this. Like, I'm going to make it my wedding charity. And
That's so
so
cool.
it's really cool. And so we have some other partners like that. And there's some jewelry, there's some apparel, but we're saying like, purchase this and there's a give back portion, and there's more information about that on the website, like what gives back at what percent.
That is so cool. And we'll link all of that in our show notes so you guys can go and check it out. And I even saw on your website that you guys have like for wedding vendors. I know a lot of wedding vendors listen to this podcast that they can kind of sign up for like monthly donations or even yearly donations as being a part of your organization and everything, which I think is such a great program to have too.
Yeah, we invite event professionals to make us part of their businesses and to join with us. And we've been lucky to work with some really incredible event professionals who do things like make a donation in honor of each new client. That's like a really and it's like I think it's really good because it allows them to be really values forward with their client, and like, not everyone needs another candle or another bottle of
Right.
champagne or whatever. Those things are great. I mean, do those
Right.
things and give the donation, but it's a way to
Right.
say like, I want to get this relationship off on the right foot, and I'm making this gift in your honor. Other event professionals, they make us part of their websites, their social media. They tell their clients about us, like invite their clients to be a part of the movement. And it's a really creative community and just a lot of fun to work with.
That's really cool. So, do you get to travel on trips a lot to like visit all these organizations and the people that they're helping?
I mean, I've been lucky in that I've been able to do three of these trips so far. I went to Uganda, Dominican Republic, and Nepal,
Wow.
and visited, between, I don't know, around 10 to 12 like partners in each place. And it's absolutely the highlight of a lot of the work that I do, mostly because I have conversations there that stay with me. Like every single
Mhm.
day. In my first trip to Uganda, I went to this school and sat down, had this conversation with like girls who were probably between like 13 and 15, just about like what was happening in their lives, what's happening in their community, how's school going, ask them about like what they know and see about child marriage. I would never forget this conversation I think about every day. I was like, what do you know about this issue of child marriage? And one girl in the little semicircle where we're sitting, she said, like, there was a girl in our class who got married last year and she's not here anymore. And then another girl was like, I know a girl like that too. And then a girl who was on the outside of the circle, she raised her hand. She said, there was a girl in my village who got to finish school and she went to college and she came back and she had a real wedding. And she wore the dress and we danced and I was there. And she said, that's what I want. I want the party.
Oh my gosh.
I love that moment because I thought about like my nieces in Nashville, Tennessee, and
Yes.
them dreaming of dresses and dancing. I thought about myself like growing up in rural Kentucky and dreaming about a different life.
Yes.
And I just thought like in that moment, I was like, this is such commonality between like girls around the world, like wanting other things for their lives, right? And
Mhm.
the conversations like that are what drive me every day. Like we all want the party. We all deserve to choose the party for
Yes.
ourselves if we want it.
Totally. Exactly. Gosh, I love that you're able to just get those firsthand experiences and to know what's really happening in the countries and to bring that back to the organization to see what needs actually need to be met instead of just like putting money on things and not really knowing what's happening. It's like you guys have really dug deep into the organization and spoken to the people who it's actually helping and getting firsthand kind of experiences with that, which I think is so important to do. So, very awesome. And if you guys ever plan another trip, I would love to go if I can invite myself.
Adding you to it.
That would be so cool. Oh my gosh. So we can wrap up here. Where else can we find Vow for Girls online and make donations and get all the tools for giving back for your wedding?
Yeah, everything you need is at valforgirls.org. You can also really easily contact us there. A member of our small but mighty team will get in touch with you. We're also on all the social media platforms at Val for Girls. Follow us there. We share a lot of inspiring content about how people of all walks of life are joining this movement and making a difference. And we'd love to feature you there.
That's so cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Clay. We love your organization. We
Thank
love
you.
how you guys are giving back. And yeah, if you're listening, go there. The holidays are coming up. It's a great time to give back to. A lot of people have that on their minds. So definitely, if you're looking for a way to do that, click the links in the show notes. Thanks,
Amazing.
Clay.
Thank you so much, Alyssa.
All right. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedding Reporter podcast. I hope you learned a little bit and had fun today. To find more resources and podcast episodes, visit NashvilleBrideGuide.com for more information. And as always, click the subscribe button and leave us a review. Until next time, I'm Alyssa DeChico, signing off.